Imagine, just for a second, that you are standing in a concrete tunnel.
Okay, picture it.
Yeah, and you're about to step out onto a pristine green pitch. You're competing in the most grueling physical and mental event on the global stage.
The pressure would be insane.
Literally vibrating in your chest from the roar of the stadium. The whole world is watching you. And then, you look across that pitch and you realize you are competing against kids young enough to literally be your children.
Oh, wow. That's a sobering thought.
Right. I mean, they have that boundless, terrifying energy of youth, peak cardiovascular endurance. Their knees don't ache when the weather changes.
Must be nice.
But there you are, and you aren't just surviving the match, You're actually dominating it.
It's a striking image.
Yeah.
Mostly because it completely short-circuits how we're, well, conditioned to think about elite athletics.
Oh, for sure.
We're taught that the human body has this very strict warranty period,
Yeah.
peak performance is your early 20s.
Yeah, and by 30, you're supposedly washed up.
It's exactly entering your twilight. So to be out there sprinting on a global stage in your 40s, it defies almost every conventional biological expectation we have about how muscles and joints actually age.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that biological defiance is exactly what we are focusing on for today's deep dive.
It's a great topic.
It really is. We are looking at a genuinely fascinating article from Opta Analyst, published on July 2, 2026. It breaks down the oldest players in FIFA World Cup history.
The records are just wild.
They are. And our mission today is to, figure out the mechanics of this. How do you cheat the biological clock on the pitch?
Right. What does it take?
Exactly. We're looking at legendary veterans who simply refuse to hang up their boots, and we're going to explore the massive new records that were just shattered at the 2026 World Cup.
Because it really did shift the landscape.
It totally did. Because while, everyone loves obsessing over the newest teenage prodigy, I think there's a completely different kind of magic in seeing a 40-something hold their own against the next generation.
I'd argue it's a much more impressive kind of magic, really.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, a prodigy is relying on raw, explosive potential, right?
Yeah.
Fast twitch muscle fibers, adrenaline.
Yeah, just pure youth.
But a veteran in their 40s operating at a World Cup level, that requires this incredibly complex synthesis. You're talking about extreme physical maintenance, psychological resilience.
Tactical smarts, I bet.
Decades of it.
Yeah.
Decades of accumulated tactical intelligence replacing pure speed. And as the source material points out, the 2026 World Cup we just witnessed completely rewrote the historical landscape for these veterans.
Rewritten is putting it mildly. I mean, the 2026 wave just crashed the all-time top 10 list.
It really did.
If you look at the oldest players in World Cup history now, the leaderboard is completely crowded with guys from this latest tournament. We currently have 4 active players from 2026 sitting in that top 10.
4 of them. That's unprecedented.
Yeah. You've got Guillermo Ochoa for Mexico, who is just shy of his 41st birthday. Edin Dzeko for Bosnia-Herzegovina at a little over 40. Luka Modric for Croatia at almost 41. And then jumping straight into the number 4 overall spot in history, you have Cristiano Ronaldo at 41 years and 142 days.
And Ronaldo's presence on this list isn't just a matter of, showing up.
Not at all.
His appearance against Colombia on June 27th, 2026, it triggered this historic cascade of broken records.
Oh, it was a massive deal.
Right. By starting that match, he became the oldest outfield player to ever start a match in World Cup history.
Which, just to make sure we are all on the same page here, when we say outfield player, we are talking about anyone who isn't the goalkeeper, right?
Exactly.
The players who actually have to, run the miles, track back, and sprint.
Precisely. The metabolic demand on an outfield player is staggering. You are covering immense distances.
Just constant running.
Continuous explosive sprinting, rapid changes of direction, high-impact collisions. That's why Ronaldo's record is so distinct from a goalkeeper's.
And it wasn't just global records. He shattered regional ones, too. He became the oldest European player to make an appearance at any major tournament, World Cup or the Euros.
Surpassing his former teammate Pepe, actually.
Yeah, who had literally just set the Euro record in 2024 at 41 years and 130 days. But here's the stat that completely melts my brain.
Let's hear it.
Ronaldo is now only the second player in history to appear in 6 different World Cups, alongside Lionel Messi, who did it from 2006 to 2026.
Incredible longevity.
And after netting twice against Uzbekistan, Ronaldo is the first player ever to score in 6 different World Cups.
Which really highlights the sheer span of time we were talking about.
Wait, I want to try to put that into perspective for you, the listener. Playing in 6 World Cups spans 20 years. 2 full decades.
That's a lifetime in sports.
Think about what you were doing 20 years ago. That's like holding a cutthroat C-suite job in the tech industry, starting back in the era of flip phones and successfully navigating all the way through the AI boom without ever getting fired or losing your edge.
That is a great way to think about it.
But I have to guess he isn't playing the same way he did 20 years ago. You can't outrun a 20-year-old at 41. So how is he actually doing it? Is he just like camping out near the goal?
Well, you've hit on the exact mechanism of survival for veteran athletes. It's about severe economical movement.
Economical movement makes sense.
Yeah, as your maximum oxygen uptake, your VO2 max, decreases with age, you just can't afford to make wasted runs anymore.
Right, you burn out.
Exactly. A 20-year-old Ronaldo would sprint 50 yards to chase a lost cause. A 41-year-old Ronaldo uses decades of pattern recognition to know exactly which 3-yard sprints will actually result in a goal. He replaces physical exertion with positional anticipation.
Positional anticipation, I like that. But looking at the math, Ronaldo is 4th on the all-time list right now. What would it actually take for him to reach number 1, to be the oldest ever, period?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it requires looking at the unyielding reality of the calendar. To break the absolute all-time record, Ronaldo would have to play in the scheduled 2030 World Cup final. On that specific date, he would be 45 years and 166 days old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which would make him exactly 5 days older than the current record holder. It really forces us to ask if the perceived end of an athlete's career is dictated purely by biology.
Or if willpower plays a bigger role.
Exactly. Willpower combined with modern sports science. Can it stretch that window half a decade longer than we ever thought possible?
Willpower is definitely part of it. But let's look at a guy who did this without the modern billions in sports science.
Let's do it.
So Ronaldo just became the oldest starting outfield player. But he didn't break the record for the oldest outfield player to actually score a goal.
No, he didn't.
To find that guy, we have to travel all the way back to 1994 to what I think is the ultimate anomaly on this entire list.
We're talking about Cameroon's Roger Milla.
Yes, June 28, 1994. Cameroon versus Russia. Milla steps up and scores what the source calls a consolation goal.
Meaning the game was pretty much over.
Right. His team was already losing heavily, so the goal didn't change the outcome, but it put them on the board in a 6-1 defeat. But the numbers behind that goal are wild. He was 42 years and 39 days old.
Amazing.
And just as a quick side note from the data, that exact same match is famous for another reason. Russia's Oleg Salenko set the record for the most individual goals in a single game with 5.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was the same game.
Yeah, so you had the oldest goal scorer ever and the single-game goal record happening on the same patch of grass on the exact same day.
The remarkable piece of trivia. But Milla's record as the competition's oldest goal scorer, which still stands today, is fascinating because of the context leading up to it.
Oh, the backstory's the best part.
Right. He didn't just continuously play professional football until he was 42. He had actually retired from international play 6 years earlier at the age of 36.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The unretirement.
Yes.
He only came back because the president of Cameroon literally pleaded with him to return for the 1990 World Cup in Italy.
Imagine getting that call.
Right. Imagine you're relaxing in retirement, the president calls you to come back to work, and you casually become a global icon. He comes back, gives the world those iconic corner flag celebrations, and helps Cameroon become the first African nation to ever reach the quarterfinals.
An incredible run.
And then he just keeps going until 1994. He finished his international career with 77 caps, which, for anyone unfamiliar, just means he made 77 appearances for his national team.
Right, dating back to when they literally gave players a physical cap.
Exactly. He scored 43 goals and finally retired for good after playing in Indonesia. But I'm going to push back on something here.
Go ahead.
If it is so physically devastating for an outfield player to run for 90 minutes at age 42, how did Milla actually do it? Is it fundamentally harder for outfield players to stick around this long compared to the rest of the players on this list?
It is fundamentally harder, yes. And it requires a fundamental shift in how the team utilizes the player. Milla at 42 was not going to give you 90 minutes of high-intensity pressing.
No.
But if a team is willing to structure themselves to cover for a veteran's lack of mobility, that veteran can become a highly specialized tool.
Like a secret weapon.
Exactly. The team does the heavy aerobic lifting, the running, the tackling, and the veteran is deployed purely for their composure and finishing ability in the penalty box. Milla's success was about a team recognizing that his experience was worth the trade-off of his physical decline.
That makes perfect sense. It's like bringing in a retired executive as a high-level consultant.
Good comparison.
You don't make them do the grunt work or compile the spreadsheets. You just bring them into the boardroom for 10 minutes to deliver the golden insight that saves the quarter.
That is an excellent analogy. But if you look at the broad pattern of the Opta analyst data, outfield players like Milla and Ronaldo are the outliers.
Right.
Aside from those two, almost everyone at the absolute top of the age charts plays the exact same position.
Goalkeepers.
Yep.
If you want to play in a World Cup when you're pushing 45, you need to put on some gloves.
Precisely. Because goalkeeping, while requiring extraordinary reflexes, agility, and courage, relies on the anaerobic system. Short, intense bursts of energy.
Rather than the non-stop running.
Right, rather than the continuous, grueling aerobic expenditure required of outfield players.
And since goalkeepers reign supreme in this longevity game, we have to look at the absolute extremes.
There are some wild stories here.
There are. There are two legendary shot stoppers in the source material who went to bizarre lengths to keep their World Cup dreams alive. Let's start with Pat Jennings from Northern Ireland.
Okay.
He played against Brazil in 1986 on his literal 41st birthday.
Which is quite the way to celebrate a birthday.
Facing a 1986 Brazilian squad, I think I'd rather have a quiet dinner.
Seriously.
He did concede 3 goals, but just being on the pitch was a monumental achievement because of what he had to do to get there.
Right, he was essentially retired.
Yeah, he had actually already retired from top-level league football because he lost his starting job as Arsenal's #1 goalkeeper to John Lukic.
Unfortunate timing.
But he desperately needed to maintain his match sharpness so he could play in the upcoming World Cup. So what does a legend do? A guy who earned 119 caps, played over 1,000 top-level matches, and famously scored a goal from his own penalty box in the 1967 Charity Shield against Manchester United's Alex Stepney.
A true legend.
He swallows his pride and goes to play for his former club Tottenham Hotspur's reserve team.
It is a stunning display of ego management.
Isn't it?
Consider the psychological friction of that scenario. You are a recognized icon of the sport, yet you are voluntarily stepping down to play in reserve matches, which are essentially developmental games for youth players and backups.
Just to keep the reflexes sharp.
Exactly. Just to keep your hand-eye coordination calibrated for one final tournament.
Think about how that translates to your own life as a listener. Imagine you are a senior vice president, you've got the corner office, the accolade.
You've made it.
Right. But to pivot to a new dream industry, you have to spend your weekends taking an entry-level certification class with 20-year-olds. The humility that takes is staggering.
Humility is the engine of longevity in sports. You have to be willing to accept your new reality. Which brings us to another fascinating psychological case study.
Oh, Farid Mondragon.
Colombia's Farid Mondragon.
Yes. Mondragon played against Japan in 2014 at 43 years and 3 days old. And the defining feature of his story is just absolute stubborn patience.
Unbelievable patience.
He holds the record for the longest wait between World Cup games in the history of the tournament. He started 3 games for Colombia way back in the 1998 World Cup. And then, well, nothing.
Just waiting.
He waited 15 years and 363 days to make his next appearance in 2014, and then retired immediately after Brazil eliminated Colombia in the quarterfinals.
Almost 16 years between appearances. The persistence required to maintain elite physical condition for a decade and a half, knowing you are likely just the backup, is difficult to overstate.
I mean, that's like waiting for 2 entirely different broods of cicadas to hatch before you get back on the pitch.
That is a very vivid way to put it.
But the mechanics of how he got that 2014 record are really curious. Colombia was playing Japan, they were winning the game, and more importantly, they had already completely secured their qualification for the knockout rounds.
Right, the stakes were low.
So there were no stakes. Head coach Jose Pekerman decides to substitute Mondragon into the game with just 5 minutes left on the clock. I have to ask, why? Is it just showboating? Why risk a substitution just for a 5-minute cameo?
What's fascinating here is that this wasn't a tactical maneuver. It was deeply psychological.
How so?
In international football, the locker room is a highly sensitive ecosystem. Bringing on a 43-year-old veteran who has waited 16 years for a second chance wasn't about securing the win. It was a profound tribute.
Oh, wow.
It signaled to the entire squad that the management values loyalty, perseverance, and the invisible work done in training. Mondragon was a foundational pillar of their national identity behind the scenes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Giving him that record-breaking 5 minutes was a way of honoring his lifelong dedication in front of the world.
Okay, I love that. It's an emotional reward for a guy who put in a decade and a half of invisible work. But as touching as that 5-minute cameo was, Mondragon only held the age record for 4 years.
That's right.
Because in 2018, an Egyptian goalkeeper stepped up. And he didn't get a ceremonial 5 minutes at the end of a safe game. He stepped into the absolute unfiltered chaos of a full 90-minute match.
We are talking about the ultimate Iron Man of the World Cup, Essam El Hadary.
Essam El Hadary, the undisputed #1 oldest player in the history of the tournament.
A true force of nature.
June 25, 2018, Egypt versus Saudi Arabia. He was 45 years and 161 days old. And he actually holds a dual record because he wasn't just the oldest player, he was the oldest player to ever make their World Cup debut.
And as you noted, the game itself was incredibly hostile.
Right. He had to face 2 penalty kicks in that match. Now, he saved the first one, which made him the first African goalkeeper to ever save a penalty at the World Cup finals.
At 45 years old.
Yeah.
Oh.
He did concede the second one right before halftime, and Egypt eventually lost 2-1. But the timeline context here is what breaks my brain.
It's hard to fathom.
He made his international debut for Egypt in 1996. That was 10 full months before the youngest member of Egypt's 2018 squad was even born.
Incredible.
He earned 159 caps and won 4 Africa Cup of Nations titles. So what does this all mean? He wasn't a beloved mascot getting a 5-minute send-off like Mondragon.
Not at all.
He is diving in the dirt to stop a penalty kick against elite strikers in their 20s. How does a 45-year-old body react fast enough to stop a ball traveling at 70 miles an hour from 12 yards away?
This raises an important question about what matters more at the highest level. If you rely purely on raw reaction time, waiting for the ball to be kicked, seeing its trajectory, and then firing your muscles to dive, the 20-year-old will always win.
Right, they're just biologically faster.
The neural pathways are simply faster. But El Hadary wasn't reacting to the ball. He was anticipating the human.
Wait, let me wrap my head around that. Are you saying it's like a chess grandmaster? A veteran grandmaster doesn't need to move their pieces faster than a rookie because they already know what the board is going to look like 3 moves ahead.
Exactly. That is the perfect way to understand it. A 45-year-old goalkeeper has seen tens of thousands of penalty kicks in their lifetime.
Just immense data collection.
Right. By the time the striker is running up to the ball, El Hadary is analyzing the angle of the striker's hips. He is looking at the placement of their non-kicking plant foot.
Wow, reading all the tiny signs.
He is reading the subtle shifts in their shoulder drop and eye contact. He synthesizes a dozen micro-clues in a fraction of a second. El Hadary saving a penalty at 45 proves that the massive accumulation of pattern recognition can legitimately neutralize the biological decline of aging.
So it's not physical, it's mental.
He didn't need to dive faster than the ball. He just needed to start his dive before the ball was even struck.
Anticipation over reaction. It's not about moving faster, it's about thinking sooner. That is honestly brilliant.
It really is.
And I feel like it perfectly ties together this entire journey we've taken through these Opta analyst records today. We started by looking at Essam El Hadary using decades of pattern recognition to stop penalties at 45.
Unforgettable moments.
We saw the intense humility of Pat Jennings playing in the reserves just to stay sharp for his 41st birthday. We looked at Roger Milla being deployed as a strategic weapon out of retirement at 42.
Setting records while they do it.
And we are watching in real time as the 2026 wave, led by Cristiano Ronaldo, continues to aggressively push the boundaries of sports science.
And if we connect all of this to you, the listener, these stories completely challenge our everyday assumptions about what our own prime years are supposed to be.
Yeah, society can be pretty limiting.
Society often tells us that after a certain arbitrary age, our best days are behind us. But whether you are playing amateur sports on the weekends, thinking about a massive career pivot in your 40s, or trying to learn a completely new and complex skill later in life, these athletes are living proof of a powerful concept.
What?
Dedication, extreme mental adaptability, and the willingness to rely on your accumulated experience rather than raw energy can stretch your peak far beyond any conventional limits.
It is the ultimate proof that the calendar doesn't dictate your value. Your adaptability does. But looking at everything we've covered today, it leaves me with one final, deeply provocative thought to chew on.
Lay it on us.
We just saw 4 different 40-something players hit the pitch in the 2026 World Cup alone. The advancements in sports science, cellular nutrition, positional data analysis, and personalized recovery, they're moving at blinding speed right now.
Faster than ever.
We used to think playing at 40 was impossible. Now it's practically a trend. So are we rapidly approaching an era where seeing a 50-year-old playing in a World Cup is no longer a biological impossibility, but just a matter of time? Think back to that pitch we talked about at the beginning.
The tunnel, the roar of the crowd.
Exactly. You're competing against kids young enough to be your children in the most grueling event on Earth. But maybe, with enough science and strategy, the 50-year-old is the one who walks away with the win.